Ladies and gentlemen, what a race at Kansas this week. Well, at least it's stage 3. Guys, welcome to the Variety Sports Network. This is The Next Left Turn. I'm Josh Edwards. Aaron's back with me again this week. Aaron, thanks so much for being with me because we had no prep time. The race just ended,
Absolutely not.
17 minutes ago or something. What an exciting finish. What a good race. To all the fans who stuck it out at the track through the rain delay, to you guys, that was a heck of a delay. But they got legs to this track, so we knew we were gonna get this race in as long as the rain stayed out of the way. Man, what a race! What a finish! Historic finish. It seems like NASCAR is making some kind of history every week right now. Either somebody in NASCAR or NASCAR itself. And Kyle Larson always seems to be in it, or Denny Hamlin seems to be in it. But we will get to that as we go on. I don't even have the results officially finalized yet, so don't even look for those at the bottom of the screen this week. I'll read it at the end of the show. But Aaron, good Lord. You were telling me right before we hopped on that you kind of were trying to play catch up because you were out running today and you were like, oh, it's not over when you got home, we got to start watching. So let's just start it off here. First things first, Eric Jones was cleared medically this week. That's good news for NASCAR. That's good news for him. Good news for Legacy Motorsports. But they did decide to keep him on the sidelines this week because Corey Heim did such a good job last week. He ended up winning the truck race at Kansas this weekend as well. So it was kind of a no-brainer, when you got a fracture in your back and you're going to go to the next two tracks that are Darlington and North Wilkesboro. I don't blame them for that at all. I think that's a good, smart move. Protect your driver. There's a lot of season left. So that was kind of the big news going into this race. Christopher Bell had the pole. Ross Chastain was starting at number 2. He had a great qualifying run this week. We were looking for Watermelon Man to do something. He was my pick this week to get the job done. Unfortunately, I was wrong again. It was him or Hamlin is kind of where I was at for this race before the race ever started. Then the rain came, and I watched a little bit of the pre-race, and Hamlin said that he thought because of the rain, it was going to make things a little bit more even for all the drivers, and we weren't just going to see the normal top guys up front. Obviously, he's just trying to make for good TV because he was up there for a good portion of the day and up until the end because I really thought he was going to sneak away with another one. But let's get rolling. First stage is very very hesitant, and that was probably a lot because of the rain. There was no rubber on the track. Guys didn't know exactly what the cars were going to do. I feel like we've said this a couple times already this year, so it does make going into the race interesting. Aaron, I know you were busy, so you didn't get to catch any of the pre-race. I know you came in late to it, but you did get to catch up on some of it. What did you think about stage 1?
So I really thought Ross Chastain was Kyle Larson's kryptonite. Because no matter what Kyle Larson was doing in that first stage, Ross Chastain was just like a little leg up on him. So I was like, oh, okay. Like, I think we figured out who can stop him. And it was funny. I don't know if you saw it. They were all talking about who's the hardest driver to pass. And everyone was saying Ross Chastain. So I was like, okay. So I actually thought he was going to win it today, too, just because of what they were saying, hyping him up. But, yeah, I mean, shout out to Denny Hamlin because, what was it, Chris Buescher led a lot of laps. Kyle Busch, I think he led maybe 16, 17 laps. So it's good to see other drivers other than a Joe Gibb or a Hendrick car lead some laps today. So that the first, yeah, I agree, though, that the first stage there wasn't a lot of cautions, which is good. As much as I love having, 12 cautions in a race, even though we'll get to that later, but yeah, I really thought Ross Chastain was going to take this one because he was stopping Kyle Larson right in his tracks.
Oh man, I really thought he had the car, the setup. He had a good positive attitude in pre-race that I got to see. Actually, they showed a clip of him at his hauler or whatever the guys stay in, and they're talking to him about how Trackhouse does it a little bit different. They like to keep things fun and light. And in the middle of the interview, you see his crew open the back door, and they got one guy like they're going to toss him out the back. So the mood was light. They were enjoying the downtime. They were enjoying the delay. They weren't getting too stressed out about it. So I really felt good. I was like, oh, he's going to be locked in. He's going to be ready to rock and roll. And he looked like it through stage 1. Like you mentioned, he was mimicking and taking care of Larson up front. Larson did eventually get around him. And that's racing. I mean, that's 1.5 mile racing at these with these cars. But these cars were set up for these kinds of tracks. Like it was said plenty of times in the pre-race, this track is the perfect track for these kind of cars. The aero blocking is not going to matter as much. It's going to be more about the driver, the tires, the fuel, and things of that nature. And it showed this week. It definitely showed in this race. But obviously, there was a lot more tentativeness at the start of this race. And again, like I said earlier, I think that really came back to the fact that there was no real rubber on the track. They didn't know what the cars were going to do, how they were going to handle. They knew they weren't going to be quite as fast because the cars weren't going to be quite as loose, but they were going to have the grip. So it was really a balancing act for the stage one, from what I felt. But lo and behold, by the end of stage one, with no cautions and just green flag pit stops, Denny Hamlin works his way all the way up to the front. And that's where I said he was trying to make good for TV in the pre-show, because he was like, oh, this is going to balance it out because the track's not all set up. And there he is up front fighting again, and he gets that stage one win. He had some trouble in the pits today, though. I mean, I don't know if you got to catch that at all. Two times he got jammed up in the pits. One time he pulled it a little too far into the box. He had a little trouble getting out. And then another pit stop later, he was already out of his pit box, and Ryan Preece was trying to get to his, and they almost had a collision on pit road. These are things that you don't typically see at the super speedways as much. You see it more in the short track. The pit lanes are a little bit smaller, but I think it makes for good excitement. It makes for a good show.
Yeah, I was surprised too with Truex. He had it near the end where he went down like 8 spots when they pit. I was like, dang.
They went straight strategy, and it ended up almost working out for him, because by the end of the race he was in fourth. So stage one was very, I don't want to say bland, but there were no accidents. There wasn't a whole lot of bumping and rubbing. There wasn't any bump drafting at that point in the race. It was everybody was cautious. Everybody was trying to make sure their car made it. We get into stage two, and stage two, much like stage one, it's very conservative racing. There's not a whole lot of banging going on. There's a lot of good passing. Larson falls back for a little bit there, but he's always up there. Kyle Busch was up in the front a lot. Not leading the race, but he was there. Like, he was noticeable. Chase Elliott was hanging in around 10th, 11th, 12th. He'd been back and forth through that part of the race. I mean, it was just very calm. It was a very, very calm race. And there wasn't a lot going on in the dramatics. There was no flares. We saw some 4 wide racing. We saw some 5 wide racing coming out of turn 4 and going down the front stretch. So that always gave me some rush of excitement, because I was looking for an accident. I was looking for the big accident coming down the front stretch, and we never really got that. So stage two, like I said, it wasn't boring, but a little bit more bland, I would say. We didn't have all the get up and go. There weren't, like I said, no accidents. There was no major collisions on pit road. I mean, it really felt like a boring but a good. It was entertaining, but it wasn't entertaining the way we typically look for in NASCAR. How'd you feel about stage two?
I was cool with it. So because I had it recorded, I was out and about. I thought the race ended, and I was like, "All right, cool." So I was watching it on the TV, and all of a sudden, it got closer and closer to the end of the recording, and it only got me up to about lap 160. So I was like, "Oh, okay." So I hope this race is done. But as it's doing that, I'm actually on my phone. Thank God for the Fox Sports app, because I was watching that. So I was literally watching from last 80 laps on my phone, and then I went from lap 1 I think it was like the middle of the second stage, so it was like lap 140 up to about 160, and I was like, because I think something happened with Joey Logano in the third stage, and then when I saw in the second stage, I was like, in my head, I'm like, Joey, something bad's gonna happen to you. So I thought that was pretty funny. But the second stage was good. I think we only had the one caution that we had?
No caution.
And there wasn't at all?
No caution in stage two.
Oh, why am
we
I
didn't even have a caution
until
stage 3.
Oh, it might have been at the end then. Okay, so
yeah, it was right after stage 3 started. We had our first caution.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was pretty content with the way it's going, just because the last 3-4 races we've seen just a ton of cautions in the second stage. So the fact that there wasn't any and everyone's kind of really strategizing, I thought was really good. I mean, Chris Buescher was leading a good amount of laps in the second stage. Yeah, did you see that they were showing the Denny Hamlin stats in this race too? I was like, all right. I know he leads the most wins in Kansas before, but we don't need to show everything about Denny Hamlin. Like, who cares about him?
Well, he called
But
his shot before the race.
I
He
guess
said he's
that's
going to win
why.
the
But
championship this year. So,
geez. Well, you know what? He has a pretty good amount of wins for not winning a championship as a driver.
he has the most wins ever for a guy who's never won a championship. And today he tied, or if he would have won today, he would have tied. No, he won last week tying Lee Petty. His next win will be to tie Rusty Wallace on the all-time list. So,
oh my God.
I mean, I got a couple good clips here to show you guys. Hold on. I messed that up again. But let me get this back here. We got some good passing. I said we had some 4 wide. We had some 5 wide racing. Let me get this up here up on the screen for you, and we can watch this clip.
Run, and you see him right here. Oh, man. Both of them have to check up.
And look who is.
Whoa,
4 wide. Here we go. 5 wide. Whoa.
Look at Buescher thread the needle there, man. That was insane.
I'm just surprised that nothing happened there.
Oh, yeah. I for sure thought there was going to be an accident. I didn't think he was going to get through that. And I got another clip of that, and we get to see it from driver's perspective. And it's, I mean, you can see him. He brushes both cars as he's going by. So I want to pull this one up here for you and get this one going. But this is Buescher shooting through the video, the clip we just saw. See everybody kind of get there. He stacks up. And he says, I'm going for it. You hear the car swipe by the other 2 cars there.
Loving the audio on this, by the way.
Dude, yeah, well, when I can get it on right, it's even better. But at this point in the race, this is when I thought to myself, oh, Ford has a chance. Buescher looks strong. And Blaney was quietly back there the whole race. Logano and Cindric were both in the top 20 for the most of the race. So you kind of thought maybe if the Penske cars could hook up, maybe they were going to bring something to. Noah Gragson was there for a good portion of the race in the top 10 and top 12. And so you thought, Stuart Haas maybe was going to make a push, but he wasn't getting any help. Again, Chevy and Toyota up front dominating the most of this race with the exception of Chris Buescher up there. Brad Keselowski was quietly working through the field the entire race. He had a good showing. So RFK had a good race today too. But that clip right there, that one was the one I was like, I know we have no prep time now. The race just ended, but I got to get this one on the show. So, I mean, that was awesome to hear the car actually slide by the other car. I thought it was a really cool clip. Also in stage 2, Kyle Larson ended up having some problems on pit road. The left front tire changer, he actually got the wheel on and then got the nut on and then had to back the nut back off and get it back on because the tire wasn't on right. And kudos to him for not letting his driver take off and go run because that would have been bigger issues for them. So taking the extra 3 seconds to unwind that lug nut and then put it back on properly probably is what gave Larson a chance to win this race. I mean, it really kept him in it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it was a pretty close race, I guess, for Larson, but I don't know. It's the third stage, we could talk about that just because, like, that's where kind of all the chaos was ensuing. Because when I was watching, I didn't realize, I think that what Mike Joy made the joke that there was only, like, 3 laps of, like, green flag.
In the first 25 laps of the third stage, there were like 3 laps of green flag, right?
I was like, oh my God.
But Chris Buescher made that move that we just showed you, and he ends up taking stage 2. And as he comes down pit road for the stage to get into stage 3, his tire, man, jumped the wall too early. He ended up getting penalized. So all that work he just did. He got all the way to the front. And he got the stage win, and now he's going to get dropped back to the back to start stage 3. At that point, I was kind of like, well, Ford's screwed. It's over. They don't have a chance. Nobody else is running that strong. I got that here to show you guys as well. I'm just going to give you a little clip of this here where he's coming in. We'll get this up on the screen here.
Thanks, Shannon. Well, double trouble for Chris Buescher. There is that windshield tear-off, and look here, where the tire changer and tire carrier are over the wall too soon. That will send Buescher to the tail end of the line.
Stupid mistakes.
Also, Daniel Hemrick too fast exiting pit road.
And then watch this.
We hate to talk about this.
Did you see this?
It's stuck on the top of the
Two
car.
tear-offs
They might as well
came
come back in
on
and
off the car,
hope
and
that
it got
blows
stuck
off
to the
or-
top
or
of his
just come
car.
fix it. But
Yeah, this is where I
Thanks,
didn't
Shannon.
get to
Well,
watch
double
because
trouble
of the darn rain delay. So
Gotcha.
that I couldn't see. But I mean, if you want to talk about good tire changers, Legacy Motorsports, John Hernimacek or Ernest Holden, it's a good tire changer right there.
Oh,
Two-time
yeah, is
Quidditch Cup champion. Yeah, I know. I've known
Saw
him
that.
since college.
Really?
Yeah, really cool dude.
So he actually said that in his when they were doing the crew thing. Did you see it there? Is that where you
Yep.
got that from?
Yep.
Okay. I was like, dude, this guy just went Harry Potter on NASCAR people. Like, come
Yep.
on, man.
He's like the fun, like the most fun dude you'll know that if you ever get to know him. But yeah, shout out that really good tire changer coming up from the ranks. That's for sure.
Hey, you know, I think it's a really great thing that they're featuring these the pit crew guys now, because those guys do the work. I mean, so many races, short track, super speedway, 1.5 regular speedways, they're one in the pits. These guys work their butts off. They're in fantastic physical shape. If you don't think NASCAR is a sport, I have learned it is a sport. These guys train day in and day out. They're in the weight room. They're working on their mechanics. They're doing all the things they need to do to make sure they perform their best come Sunday. And these guys are athletes. They're just it's a different type of athlete. You know, it's a non-contact thing. It's just different. I don't know how else to describe it, but these guys are athletes. A lot of them are former football players, former wrestlers, baseball players. They've all done different things. It's really cool that they're getting their recognition finally. It's only taken 75 years for pit crews to start getting recognition. But these guys are super important, and you hear the drivers now more than ever thank the pit crews, thank the crew chiefs for all the work that they put in, because it's not just the drivers working in simulators during the week. It's the whole team working on changing tires, getting fuels in the car, making all the changes they need to make during races to make sure they're staying competitive and can adapt from lap to lap, stage to stage now.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, you talk about being a former football player. That's why I got to throw a little Quidditch in there. You know what I'm saying? He's got to spice it up a little bit. But he actually was a football player too. So
that makes more sense then. He's got to make the joke. He can't make the geek joke without being a football player or a real athlete. So we get to stage 3, and this is where all the excitement happens. I mean, this is where we really start seeing some NASCAR racing. Like we mentioned earlier, in the first 25 laps of stage 3, we had 3 green flag laps. It was just accident after accident after accident. Caution breeds caution. The first caution here we're going to give you a look at is Jimmy Johnson. He gets spun around. It's a really weird accident because before you watch the replay, you couldn't really see where it started. It just looks like Jimmy checks up. He gets rear-ended by LaJoy, and he goes spinning. LaJoy goes spinning, and I believe it was Justin Haley gets collected. But I got a clip of that here to show you guys. Let me get that one up here. This is from LaJoy's point of view. Jimmy Johnson's in front of him. So here we go.
Riding with LaJoy.
See the tire smoke up there on the outside? I think it was tire. I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Well,
you're looking in the background of a deal.
You definitely
surely
see the
check for
smoke.
something, right?
Yeah, you definitely see the smoke up there, and I think Jimmy saw that smoke. And
so that was kind of like,
was Bubba a part of that one as well? I thought there's one too. I thought he was involved in that one. It's the next one. Okay.
Bubba gets involved in the next one. We mentioned earlier that Denny Hamlin had some troubles getting on and off pit road, and got jammed up a couple times. I want to show you guys this one just from his in-car view here. This is him coming off pit lane in the second event where he gets jammed up.
41-3 back. Watching 41, watch 41. Come on.
Priest's pit box was in front of him.
Yeah.
Obviously, Hamlin wasn't very happy at this point.
Making it easy on us today.
Right? They weren't making it easy on him. And when you rub your face in all the fans', or if you rub it in all the fans' face that you beat their favorite driver, I don't think anybody wants to make it easy on you to win, especially when you're one of the most winningest race car drivers in the history of NASCAR.
Pretty much.
I mean, but he is carrying the heel roll really well. He's taking a lot of pressure off of Kyle Busch for being the big heel out here. And Busch has been in for 20 seasons now. So it's hard to even consider him a heel anymore just because he's such a veteran and he's had such a great career.
Yeah, I think once he got his energy drinks, he had his second child, and he's kind of just maybe because he's also in the number 8 car. Maybe he's getting that Dale Earnhardt Jr. vibes. And he's just, I don't even care anymore.
You know, I like having a heel. I like having a guy we can all not like together. You know, I think it makes it a little bit more fun at times, personally. And I liked hating on Kyle Busch, and he makes it really hard now because he doesn't do anything dirty. He runs pretty clean. He knows when to get out of a situation and not push. But Denny Hamlin is just picked up that flag and just carrying it as strong as he can, week in and week out. But man, he's a good driver, and so is Kyle Busch. Don't get me wrong, but good drivers. So we get to the next restart, and it's not long, and we have another accident. Pulling this one up. This one was Cindric. Bubba Wallace was in this one, I believe. I have an in-car video of it. So, did you get to see this one too, or is this another one you missed?
I saw the replay of it because I think they showed it later on, but I didn't see it live.
All right, well, here we go. This is from inside the car. There's Bubba and Michael McDowell. That's who the other car was.
I'm surprised that Bubba was still in the race because I think at one point he was 13th. Because usually when you hit like that, you're usually at the bottom. But he came back from that, so hats off to MJ's team.
Yeah, he came back. He was ready to rock and roll. He had a real good recovery after that. Really, he was driving smart. That's really what it was. His pit crew was good. He was driving start. The extra cautions really helped him get back up in there. Let's be honest, because he was the second caution. There were 2 more after that. So that really brought him back into the race. I'm going to show you the same accident again from a different angle just to get you guys, because I love giving the driver perspective, but it's always good to see everything else that happened on the track leading up to it. So here we go.
It's in the wall. There's a wreck and on the back straightaway.
Trouble back straightaway. Bubba Wallace gets turned around by a car bouncing off the wall as they were 4 wide coming off turn number 2.
And that could have been way worse.
I think it was that car right there, Austin Cindric. You see Denny Hamlin in trouble, lifted out of the gas, moves them all up the racetrack for an adjustment.
Oh, Logano comes up, Bell comes up, and the 11 gets into the 2.
Then when he spins back down the track, he clips Bubba in the right rear, turns him around.
And everybody scatters.
Fly off that thing.
Yeah.
Just unfortunate for Cindric because he had such a good car in qualifying. He had a good day at the track to this point. Like I said, he was constantly up there in the top 15. I mean, he had a good car. He was running good, and the car was a sharp-looking car. Did you see that snap-on car? That was a sharp-looking paint job on that car.
I mean, who can forget seeing that Cheddar's also for number 8 looking smooth with that brown.
I don't like that Cheddar's car.
I don't know if you have the clip of it, but I'm just kind of curious on this one is how did Joey Logano blow a tire? It didn't even look like anything happened. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, there's a caution. And then it points to Logano. And I'm like, what did he do? And I guess it said he had a flat tire or whatever. I was just like, oh, okay. Definitely fooled me.
So from every clip I saw, I didn't see the flat tire until he came to a stop.
Yeah.
Hold on. Shoot. There it is. Let me get it up on the screen here.
You do have the clip. Okay.
I was, like I said, man, no prep time. I'm digging this stuff up as we're talking.
Well, you blame the dang Kansas rain because I actually watched the qualifying this morning and everything looked fine. I was like, all right, cool.
So here's that clip of Logano.
Comes Logano.
Oh, unbelievable, guys.
Hold on, one more coming. All right, you're good. Get it going. We have a flat guy.
You know he's got the flat tires because he just can't get moving.
Joey was 16th at the time and had a lot of cars right around him.
I'm hoping they take us back to the full shot here. Like I said, I didn't get to screen any of this, guys.
He is just short of the start-finish line.
It's crazy. They're
on
like,
the track
flat tire. I'm like, what exactly happened? Because he's the only driver there.
He is not going anywhere.
I mean, this has got to be the biggest problem with these cars, in my opinion, is that you shouldn't, like, if you get a flat tire, you should still be able to work.
So here come the Steps Wreckers and the AMR safety team to help him out.
So he just can't get good. That right rear is roasted. He just can't get going. It
Can't
doesn't even
say
look
he
like it's
didn't
that
try.
flat.
Goes Logano.
No, he tried. He definitely tried. But it just wasn't working for me. And I don't see a better clip for that I can show you guys right now. I'm sorry. I wish I did.
No,
But yeah, it was,
that's as good as you're gonna get with that clip. That's for sure.
but yeah, he got a little bit of a nudge and went around and didn't collect anybody else. So it was a 1-car accident, which is good for racing. He went down two laps down there because they had to tow him back in. He got tires changed, got to finish the race. We had a pit road penalty at one point. I don't remember who it was. Golly, who was it? Shoot, I can't remember, but I got a clip here that's talking about it. So let's bring this clip up for us all as soon as I can get it over here. Gotta love it. Gotta love technology, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and Chris Buescher right now needs to do all he can to clear Denny Hamlin.
I think he is.
Not that he isn't, but
I
it
think
looks
he
like
is,
he is
Kevin.
clear. Yes.
All the way back through 10th. There's nobody single file.
I don't know why that was labeled as about a penalty. There's nothing about a penalty there. But that was kind of the racing that Buescher was doing all day. He was pushing on Hamlin. I mean, that whole third stage, once they got past the cautions, it was just Hamlin and Buescher going at it. And Hamlin got out there and they got to the point because it was so long since they had pitted. Both of their crew chiefs were telling them, hey, you got to pull back on the throttle. You can't spike it anymore to get the cars to turn to get the cars to turn better. So they were both peeling off. You could see that the lap times were getting slower and slower. Kyle Larson was in third at this point, and then he had 7 less laps on the gas and on the tires. And at one point, he had shrunk the gap to just under a second. And in no time, he was back out to 2 seconds. And it was almost like his crew was telling him, hey, you got to pull back too. We're not going to make it. And I never thought with so many cautions in the first part of the stage 3, I never even contemplated that fuel was going to be an issue. I just didn't because of, you had so many laps under caution. You weren't burning the fuel. But we never had those green flag pit stops come through in stage 3 either because of the cautions. And that's probably what it was because I was going off what happened in stage 1 and stage 2. But it was just back and forth. And Buescher got out there in stage 3 there after the start and he got the lead. And then once Hamlin took it, Hamlin was gone. And that's when this whole fuel mileage game came into play, like we've seen so many times this season so far. But it was good racing because Buescher would get close, Hamlin would find a way just to get back out. Buescher would get upside to him in the turn. Hamlin would find a way on that high side to stay out. And we all know at this track, the high side is the better side. Like it just is. You got to find a way to run the middle. The bottom lane on this track is a dead man zone. You're not going to get going. You're not going to take off. And it's different than most of the other tracks. It really is. Now we're seeing everybody run higher on tracks, at every track now. But to see that the high line is the dominant line from start to finish, that is something we don't see very often, or at least I don't recall seeing in NASCAR from my childhood watching it to where the cars are now. And that might be the 7th gen car. But I mean, it wasn't aero blocking today. It was finding the right hole and the right time to go and push for the pass. And if they had pushed a pass like IndyCar does, I'm sure we'd see a different style of racing in NASCAR. And I think that might be coming down the road.
That'd be quite interesting. But yeah, no, I agree with that because that's what Ross Chastain was doing in the first stage when he's trying to keep Larson off of him, nipping at his heels. He kept going on the outside there. It was pretty much stopping him. I think it was like turn 4, I think was the best opportunity to get in the high ground.
Yeah, it was really coming off 4 was where you're going to make your move for the finish, and we're going to see that at the finish. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure I can find a good clip of that before we get done. But we're getting down here inside 20 laps. Hamlin's still in the lead. Buescher's still trailing. They're still trying to save fuel at this point, and Larson is still charging, but he's not coming as hard as I thought he was going to. And then with like 5 or 6 laps left, we get the accident. We get the accident that everybody needed, and it's Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch and his number 8 Cheddar's car goes spinning all by himself for what seemed like no apparent reason. And the only clip I have of it is him spinning out. So let me get this one up for everybody, and we can watch it together.
I'm kind of glad that this happened, though.
Well, that's gonna.
Oh
take
yeah,
care
it made it
of all
more
that
interesting.
conversation.
Just trying to get it back rolling here for the leader. Gets there, leader.
Kyle Busch.
But up to this point in the race, though, Truex was charging because Truex was told he didn't need to save fuel. He had the tires. He was ready to go, and he was coming hard up Hamlin. I mean, he was in second place. He had passed everybody at this point, and he was cutting the lap time. Every lap, he was cutting off like a quarter second. I mean, I think when this wreck happened, he was only 0.9 of a second down. He only needed 2 or 3 laps to get to Hamlin. He had time. And, I'm all for these overtime. These overtime restarts are awesome. I love them. I think the best thing NASCAR's ever done. Like, get rid of the stage racing and leave the overtime finish, and I'm good with it. But I thought Truex had a shot. And I thought it was going to be great because I think Truex owes Hamlin one for events earlier in the season. And I kind of wanted to see how he was going to handle that. Personally, I thought it was going to make for good drama, good racing in the race. But this caution did make it to where everybody came in. And at that point, it was 2 tires, 4 tires. Get the splash of gas you need to get to the end. And like you mentioned earlier, Truex dropped 8 spots on these pit cycles here. And that's because he was the only car up top that took 4 tires. He was playing the strategy game. He knew it was a 2-lap shootout. He was going to have all fresh rubber to go for it. I mean, he was determined to put himself in a win. And a lot of times in these situations, doing the opposite of what the leaders do will get you the win, or at least put you in a position to get the win. So I applaud the tenacity and the guts to go out there and do something that nobody else was doing, because we all knew most of the cars were going to take 2 tires and go.
And that's why I was surprised that he went for the pick. What you were saying, that like he was pretty much like good to go before the overtime. So I was a little intrigued that he did go to the pits to get the 4 tires. I figured he would just stay out so he could have a better chance to win. But
yeah, it kind of caught me off guard a little bit too, because I mean, with the way he was charging, I didn't see a reason for him to pit. But if everybody else was going to go, I mean, why not? The thing that caught me was that he took the 4 tires, and I was like, dude, you were in second. If you would have just taken the 2, but these guys know these cars better than I do. They know how the tires run better than I do. I'm just a guy learning to be a fan, enjoying what's going on. And there are things I don't enjoy right now. Like I'm not a big fan of these cars. I think I'm coming to the realization I'm not a big fan of these cars. I don't like the fact that when you get a flat tire, you're stuck. I think it's dumb. I don't know. I think they need some modifications to the car personally.
yeah, I was just trying to pull up something, because you're not alone. And I've known one of my friends since like the 3rd grade. He's like a diehard just racing fan. Even he is saying that these cars are pretty much like shit. They're crap. What we've been discussing the last few weeks, he's pretty much like on board with that. So you're definitely not alone. This guy did a little bit of racing up here, up in Connecticut for a little bit. So he kind of knows his stuff. But yeah, no, you're not alone. The cars are definitely something this year. That's for sure.
I mean, I like the beatings they can take, because it seems like these cars can wreck and then still get back on the track and be competitive, or at least runnable. So, I mean, I do enjoy that about it. I don't know, man. There's the pros don't seem to outweigh the cons for me in this situation, but we're down to the green-white checker. It's overtime, baby. We love the overtime rules. And I got a little video clip here of the last 2 turns and the finish. And this is quite the finish. I said historic. This was the closest finish between 2 cars in NASCAR Cup history, 0.001 seconds. It was a beautiful finish. What I thought was wrong, because the guy I thought won the race ended up second. And it was because of the angle that I saw as it came across. I was like, yes, here we go. Ford finally gets a win.
We have someone other than Hendrick or Joe Gibbs to talk about today.
And about 17 seconds later, you find out, oh, no, that's not what happened. Hendricks gets another one. But let's get the clip up here. Let me let you guys see it if you didn't. Here you go.
Larson up top, all the way up top. Buescher.
He's on the outside. He's in position. He's got it.
And here comes Truex. They're going to close right to the 2
Hang
leaders.
on.
Coming to the
Hang
line. Clash together. I believe Buescher.
That looks like Buescher won it, doesn't it?
It's so close.
I mean, that totally looked like Buescher won. And I was like, yes, Ford finally got one. I don't care that it's RFK. Like, they got it. And
it's
then,
a new driver.
And then we saw what came next. Oh, are you telling me this? Okay, I got to pull this one up. I can't make it any bigger, guys. I'm going to run it for you.
It's literally like, exactly what we're talking about.
Boom, right there.
0.001. That's tight. I haven't seen a car that tight, I think, in like a few years.
I mean, we had a close one. Was it earlier this year or was it late last? I think it was earlier this year.
It wasn't that
last
close.
Win Blaney got. It was last win Blaney had because he just eked him out by like 2 inches. It was close. It wasn't this close, obviously, but it was close like this. It was a photo finish. And I think the best part about this finish is the Kentucky Derby yesterday had a finish like this, where the horses were literally nose to nose coming across the line. I think it's poetic justice. But yeah, this was the finish. And from the camera angle we saw watching the race live, it looked like Buescher got across first, but this is literally just the start of the splitter of Larson's car beating Buescher's car to the line. I watched Buescher's interview. And
dude, he was so disgruntled. It looked like they just took his soul right out of his body. He didn't know how to answer those questions.
It was rough. I got another picture I can put up here for you on it. This is the line, and there's the difference right there.
Look at that number 9. Whew.
That is insane. And then you have these 2 cars, and that's Truex right there. So the 4 tires worked out for Truex because he dropped back to 10th and restarted and got back up to 4th. And he probably could have gotten 3rd if he would have raced Elliott harder there at the end, but he didn't, and that's okay.
And at one point, Hamlin was 2nd too. And then when they went the 3 wide, 3 wide coming off the first, as soon as it started, they went 3 wide, and then he kind of started backing out. So I was a little surprised about.
But it was a good race. Like that stage 3 made up for the there you go.
Yeah.
Docileness. Is that a real word?
It could be. If not, we can send it to Webster. Yeah.
The docile nature of stage 1 and 2. Stage 3 made up for it. There was a lot of excitement. We didn't have a big one this week, which is perfectly fine. It's okay. You don't have to have a big one every week. But we had accidents at the proper times to make things interesting. And by God, the 3rd stage was interesting to say the very least.
I'm just surprised that Chase Elliott finished top 3 because he was running pretty much between 13th and 19th most of the race. I think he jumped up like 15 spots at one point in like a 10-lap span, but I'll take it for my driver. Shoot.
Dude, he's been sneaky quiet and sneaky good this year. A lot like Blaney has been. Blaney's been real quiet, the defending NASCAR champion, but he's there. He's been there more times than he hasn't been, and that's why he's still in it right now in the point standings. So let's give you guys the full breakdown, the final finish. I believe these results are official now. If they're not, I do apologize. I'm giving you what I got. So Kyle Larson with the closest margin of victory ever in the history of NASCAR. Chris Buescher is the victim of that at 2nd place. Chase Elliott gets 3rd. Martin Truex Jr. at 4th. Denny Hamlin ends up in 5th. Very respectable for the race he had. He just ended up getting beat there in the last 2. Christopher Bell finally back up in the top 10 after he's had a really rough 4 weeks. Alex Bowman, a real quiet 7th place finish. Kyle Busch still ends up 8th after that spin. He still ends up 8th. Noah Gragson with another good finish for Stewart Haas Racing finishes 9th. Michael McDowell, after his involvement in the accident early in the race, finishes 10th. Brad Keselowski, again, quietly but surely, works his way through the field and has a solid finish in 11th. Ryan Blaney in 12th. John Hunter Nemechek finishes 13th. Todd Gilliland, a solid race, took very big risk in stage 3. Like, he took tires at the end of stage 2 and never took tires in stage 3 until the last accident. So kudos to him on his great run. Josh Berry finished 15th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who just got an extension with JTG Racing for the next 2 years, I believe it is, finished 16th. Bubba Wallace comes away 17th. Justin Haley, 18th. Ross Chastain, disappointing finish in my eyes for how well he ran in the first 2 stages, finishes 19th.
For real.
Tyler Reddick, 20th. Everybody was talking like he was going to be up there at the end, and it just didn't work out because he's won at Kansas twice. The 45 car has won with 3 different drivers in Kansas. This is that team's track. Bubba Wallace has run good there in the past. So he was a favorite up front for that race. Chase finishes 21st. Corey Heim, another good finish, 22nd place. I think he got spun out on the last lap and crossed the finish line in a spin out. So more power to him. He's going to make a name for himself and give race team something to look forward when he comes up to the big dogs later in his career. William Byron finishes 23rd. He had a rough weekend, had the fastest car in practice, ended up tagging the wall in qualifying, ended up having to start in the back of the field, worked his way all the way up, and then ended up falling back as the race went on. Carson Hocevar finished 24th. Austin Dillon, 25th. Corey LaJoy ends up 26th. Daniel Suarez, 27th. Ryan Priest, 28th. Zane Smith, 29th. Daniel Hemrick, 30th. Derek Kraus, probably, I believe it is. I think it's his first race of the year, 31st. Ty Gibbs ends up 32nd. Austin Hill in 33rd. Joey Logano, because of his spin out, finishes 34th. They're going to have a conversation with that team and figure out what's wrong, get it fixed. Riley Herbst finished 35th. Harrison Burton finished 36th. Austin Cindric finished 37th after the wreck he was in because he was boosted out of the race at that point. And Jimmy Johnson, something we rarely ever saw during his career, finished in last at 38th place.
It's because he's not a Hendrick anymore.
Yeah. But he's racing with Legacy. You think he'd bring Legacy to the top. But it's still fun seeing Jimmy Johnson back in the car. He's definitely not the threat he used to be. So this just shows you that if you're on the right team, you have a better chance of winning. So you got to wonder with some of these guys, if they were on the Hendricks team or the Joe Gibbs team, would they be better than what they are? Is it not just the driver? Is it the car? Is it the team? Which it always has been. Let's not be dishonest. The team does make a bit of a difference. But is the driver as important now as he used to be, or is the technology playing a bigger part in what you can do in the cars? That's something that we need to keep our eyes on throughout the season, and I think that's a conversation we have later in the year.
Yeah, because I mean, Jeff Gordon is running Hendrick like a well-oiled machine. He is he's very involved, like hardcore. I know he's like the president of operations, and that just goes to show too, like if you have a guy like a Jeff Gordon on your team, maybe it does make the biggest difference because he pushes these Hendrick cars. That's for sure.
So next week, are you excited about next week's race?
Yeah.
The Goodyear 400 at Darlington?
Yeah, Darlington. I'll take that. And then I think it's the same week as the All-Star.
The following week's the All-Star race. May 19th.
I'm getting my days messed up. Yeah, it's the 17th to the 19th. Yeah.
So the 19th we'll go back to North Wilkesboro again this year, the revived track. The Dale Earnhardt Jr. was such a big part of getting that track brought back. Had a great race last year there. We'll have the Open, where there'll be 100 laps, and then we'll have the All-Star race, which will also only be 100 laps. Those will both be on Sunday, May 19th. Those will be night races. So I'm not sure how we're going to handle that. We may go Monday night on that weekend. We are going to go Monday night Memorial Day. Or we may go during the day Memorial Day. I'm not sure yet. We're going to figure that one out for you.
Yeah, because that was long. That's Coca-Cola right there.
Yeah, Coca-Cola 600. It starts at 5 my time, 6 your time. It's not going to be over till 10:30 or 11. We want to make sure you guys, if you want to hop in the comments, have that opportunity. So we'll probably go that one the following day. But next week, Goodyear 400 at Darlington. This is a track that Eric Jones has won 2 of his career races at. That's why they sat him this week to bring him back for that race, make it competitive, give him a good shot to be in. But it's going to be a good one. Darlington's always a good race. There's always a lot of skill there. There's a lot of strategy put in that race. It's one I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. I forgot that he won 2 races there. I was like, no wonder why. Like, I was gonna say in the beginning he should just let him come back after the All-Star race, but he actually might have a chance to win it.
Yeah, he might, and that team can do it. They're there. Legacy's there. They got to find the consistency to be competitive. Penske has a problem. Stuart Haas needs to get it figured out. Trackhouse is on the verge with Ross Chastain. I could see Suarez being gone in the near future.
Oh yeah,
or maybe Trackhouse adds a third driver and they take over Suarez's ride, and Suarez maybe just runs the road tracks and some of the other tracks he's good. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just throwing out speculation, ladies and gentlemen. Tell me your thoughts. I'm curious to see how far off base I am. because Aaron, unless I'm flat out wrong, doesn't say anything to me if he thinks I'm wrong. So
No, I think you're good. I'm not thinking right now, but you should be good. Yeah. And what's funny about Legacy is that like it's pretty much Richard Petty racing. I'm just surprised that they're in not the predicament that they're in, but why they're not in the top if it's pretty much Richard Petty racing.
I don't know why. I mean, if I was any driver, I'd want to drive for Richard Petty Racing. I would want to, if I could have the opportunity to be affiliated with the greatest NASCAR driver in the history of the sport, the man with the most wins, 200 of them in his career, I would take that opportunity and run with it. I don't know what the problem is there. I don't know why they're not a better team. But with Jimmy Johnson's affiliation to the team, I expect them to continue to be on the up and up and get better and better season by season. But like I said, Darlington next week, it's an afternoon race, barring we don't get in the situation that we had this week with rain. The show should run a little bit smoother. The videos will be edited and everything will be correct. Aaron, any final thoughts before we cut out for the week?
Yeah, just make sure you guys subscribe to the Variety Sports channel. I saw that they got a few new subscribers. Make sure you like the show, and obviously if you have comments, put it down in the comment section. We'll obviously bring them up to discuss. As much as you guys like hearing us talk, we would love to hear other opinions from other people who love the sport of NASCAR.
Absolutely. I mean, what makes this the most fun is when you guys get in the comment section and you give us something else to go off that's not pre-planned, because the show's never scripted, as you can tell. We kind of bounce like we do, but we have our key topics. But we'd love to hear your thoughts, so jump in the chat sometime with us. Let us know what you think. Let us know where you think we're right, where we're wrong, maybe just where you have a different point of view. But again, thanks everybody for coming out and joining us tonight. We appreciate it. Again, Ray, not a lot of prep time for this one, so we apologize for any of the technical difficulties or not having all the exact videos we'd like to have. But sometimes things happen, and we didn't want to leave you guys hanging. We figured it'd be better to do the show tonight than to wait. So you guys have a fantastic week. Thanks for joining the Variety Sports in the next left turn. We'll see you next Sunday night.